Hi everyone, my name is Muni.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Board Games, where we talk about a few games that we've been playing recently.
Yes, today we are going to be talking about 5 games. No specific theme or vibe again in this episode.
Well,
maybe a little bit of ocean-ish.
I think they were all released in 2024.
All released in 2024.
So truly what we're doing right now is we're trying to get through the games that we have that were released in 2024 so that we can do maybe a proper top 10 later in the year.
Released in the US in 2024.
Yes,
I think there's a caveat.
That's true. There is a caveat.
Yeah.
So I believe all of these titles today, all 5 of them were released last year.
Here.
Could be wrong, but we'll see. But they are a wide range of weights. Some of them are very light, and then we have one that is on slightly on the heavier side.
Medium.
But first, today's episode is kindly sponsored by Bezier Games, who are launching a Kickstarter in April for Volume 2 expansion maps for their game Maglev Metro.
Yes, Maglev Metro is back with 6 new expansion maps. In Maglev Metro, players utilize state-of-the-art magnetic levitation technology to build a metropolitan rail system transporting workers and robots beneath the city.
A first volume of Maglev Metro expansion maps were released in 2022 and featured a wide range of maps, including mechs, monorails, as well as Mars. And now Bezier Games is launching a Kickstarter in April for Volume 2 of their new expansion maps, ranging from microscopic nanobots to spooky ghost trains from the netherworld. And so with this latest expansion, the total number of maps for Maglev Metro will be 14 for gamers to explore.
Yeah, we've actually done a full 2-player playthrough of the base game over on the Watch It Played channel. So if you are interested in checking that video out, we'll link it in the description. We do have plans to do 2 new playthroughs featuring maps from this new expansion. So if you are interested in the campaign, please check out the link in the description down below and be sure to hit the button so you'll be notified when the campaign goes live. Also stay tuned for those new playthroughs that are coming out. And thank you so much to Bezier Games for helping sponsor this segment.
All right, thank you so much. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some games, shall we? Before we get started, of course, we do have to mention that all of these games that we are featuring today were sent to us from the publishers. All right, so the first couple of games actually were sent to us from the same publisher. These both, Alpina as well as Odin, are from a publisher called Helvetique.
Yep.
This is a publisher that is kind of near and dear to my heart.
Both of our hearts.
Yeah, because even before we started making content, the very first time we went to Essenspiel, they always have a booth there. And they're very known for having small box games like this, actually.
Nice art.
This is
good
one of
components.
the bigger boxes that I've seen come from the publisher. But it's usually, really beautiful art. It's usually simple rules and really, really interesting, cute gameplay. So these two are from Helvetique. Let's go ahead and start with Odin, shall we?
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Okay, so Odin is a card game, and I believe there are 3 designers, Gary Kim, Hope Huang, and Johan Go. And this is a ladder climbing hand shedding game, something similar to a game such as Scout, but a bit simpler. Now in this game, there are a total of 6 different suits, and each suit is numbered 1 through 9. Now at the start of the game, players will have a certain number of cards in their hand to start. I don't remember the exact number now, but basically your goal is to completely shed your hand of cards. You want to get rid of your hand first. And so the way that the game works is whoever starts the round will start by playing 1 card in the center of the table. Then the next player must play a hand of cards. And when you play a hand, it can only be either the same size as the last hand that was played or 1 greater.
Right.
So if somebody only plays 1 card, that means the next person can play
either 1 or 2 cards.
Yes, exactly. But if you play more than 1 card in your hand, all of the cards either have to have the same value or they have to be all of the same suit.
Yeah, so you can play either like a 2-2 or like a 2-3 red.
Yes.
Something like that.
If you do play a hand that is greater than 1, then your hand must be a greater number than the last hand played.
Yeah.
And in this game, the value of your hand is not the sum of the numbers. You literally have to arrange your cards in order, in descending order to make the greatest number.
Yeah, so if you have if you're playing a 2-card hand,
Yeah.
and your number is like 9-6, then you're playing a 96.
Yes.
You're not playing a 6-9.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you play a hand that has a 4, 3, and a 1, your value is 431.
Right.
So that really only matters if the size of your hand is the same size as the previous players. You just have to make sure you're beating them in rank.
Yep.
Then, after playing a hand, you must also take a card from the previous hand that was played. And you can choose which card to take, and the rest of the cards from that hand get discarded. So there's only ever going to be one hand on the table at any given time. Alternatively, if you can't play cards from your hand to form a hand that beats the previous one, then you can always just pass, and then it would just go into the next player's turn. And if at any time all players pass except for one, then that ends this hand, and you basically start a new one with that person
with one card
playing
again.
one card again. And you keep on playing this way until one person has played out all of the cards in their hand. And at that point, all players who still have cards in their hand scores 1 point per card, and you basically play until somebody has hit 15 points, and whoever has the lowest score wins.
Right.
So you do not want to have points in this game because, of course, you want to get rid of your hand.
Yeah, because you're shedding your cards, right? So if you're shedding your cards, you have 0 points, which is exactly what you're looking for in this game. Very, very light game, very casual, friendly game. At 2 players, you actually remove 2 of the suits, so there's only 4 suits in play. So that kind of creates a little bit more of the, I don't want to say tension, I guess, but kind of like...
It's not as open.
Open,
right?
yeah.
You don't have as many options to create hands.
Yeah, at
that
other
can
player
beat the others.
counts, you use all of the cards. So it plays up to 6 players in about 15 minutes, and that's about it.
That's about right.
That's about right. And so it's very, very light, very simple, but very enjoyable.
Yes,
Yeah.
I really, really like this game. I was very surprised by it. It's such a small, I mean, all of the Helvetique boxes are like this, but you know, it's a card game and it's shedding. I really enjoy hand shedding,
You like
ladder
Scout?
climbing
Yeah.
games. Yeah, I love Scout.
Yeah.
I'm one of the people who really love Scout, and the thing that I like about this is it has a similar feel, but it's much simpler. You don't have to worry about, you know, the card. You know, there's none of that extra stuff. It's literally just, do you have cards of the same color or the same number, and can they form a larger number than what's on the table?
Yeah, so it kind of borrows a little bit of the mechanism from Scout, like where you can pick a card from the center of the
Yes,
table.
you must.
But you must do it in this
must do
one.
it.
Versus in that one, you're doing it to try to improve your hand in Scout, and also trying to help let the next player beat the hand that was there before. None of that is the reason why you're doing that. This is just to kind of keep you, so like you played 3 cards, now you go back up 1 card. 4 cards, you go back up 1 card.
But you keep that in mind. So like you see the hand that was played before you, and that'll, you know, influence your decision as to which cards to play, because you know you're gonna have to pick up one of their cards.
I feel like I could really
So-
use another red because we're on like 4, and I really need an extra red so I can play on my next turn. So
And if you ever start a round and you have all cards of the same color, you don't have to play just 1 card. You are allowed to play out the rest of your hand. So that is one of the ways in which
like a
the hand ends.
shoot the moon kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just so it's like
It's a very luck driven thing, yeah.
all cards of the same color, unless you strategically plan for that. Anyway, it is very simple, like we were mentioning, but I really, really enjoyed this game. This is definitely staying in our collection.
Yeah,
It's such
doesn't
an
take
easy
up a lot of
one.
room.
Yeah, and it's an easy one to bring around. You can play up to 6 players, and it's card shedding.
This is like one of those
Card
games
shedding.
that, like, when you're at a convention and somebody kind of knows the rules for a somewhat medium weight
Yeah.
game, and they're like, why don't you just play something while I refresh on the rules? This is that game that you would play with your friends while
Maybe
that person is trying to
He's
figure
always
out.
looking for games to fit a specific scenario.
This is that game.
There you go. That's
Hey, I know how to play it. I could teach it to you in 5 minutes. You just need 10 minutes to refresh your rule book. Cool.
There you go.
So yeah, that is Odin.
All right, and the other Helvetique title is a game called Alpina. So this game is actually designed by Luc Raymond of Sky Team
Team fame, yeah.
And so in this game, the game actually comes with a deck of these square cards, and each card features one of 3 types of animals. There's a bird, which is a very specific bird.
Yeah, a deer.
A deer, no, it's like a goat antelope,
Okay.
a chamois,
Oh,
and
chamois.
a frog. And these are very specific animals that were chosen for the region that this game was based off of in Switzerland. And so each player also has a certain number of hiker meeples depending on player count. Now, the goal of the game is for you to score the most amount of points by building this 5x5 grid of cards together and placing your hiker meeples on the different cards that will score you the most amount of points.
So it's a competitive game, but
Yes.
you are contributing to the same 5x5 grid every
Right.
time you take a turn.
Because in addition to an animal on those cards, they'll also feature one of 3 different types of terrain. And on the bottom of the card, each card has a specific scoring criteria. And it'll be stuff like you score 1 point for each hiker meeple that's in its column, but above in the upward position.
Yeah, or like one could be score 2 points for every other type of terrain going to the right relative to this card that you just placed.
Yes, or maybe score 2 points for every bird card that has a hiker meeple on it that's in the grid. So it's all different types of varieties of scoring like that. Now, the way that the game works is each player will have a hand of 6 cards, and on your turn, you'll play a card to the grid, and it has to be orthogonally adjacent to one that's already there. At the start of the game, we do start with one chamois, which is that
The deer,
goat antelope animal
4-legged
in the
creature.
center of the table. And so you do have to place your card orthogonally adjacent to one that's already there. And then you may optionally place one of your hiker meeples either on the card that you placed or one that's orthogonally adjacent to it.
Right.
So if there is a scoring criteria that's already out there and you're seeing that it is starting to rack up points, then you can place it as long as it's orthogonally adjacent to the card that you just
To
played.
the one you played, yes. So you have to balance between, I think this card's good, but I don't think it's that good for scoring right now, so maybe I can circle back around to it. Maybe it's like that card, like score 2 points for every bird that has a meeple on it. You're like, well, it's way too early right now. If I put that out right now, Monique will then make sure that every time she puts out a bird, she won't put a meeple on it.
Right.
So that I
Yes.
can't be scoring on that. So
Yes.
as the game kind of unlocks and kind of opens up, there's a lot of like, how much are you scoring? So if I put this card out here in this area, that's actually really good for you. So
Yeah.
I gotta hold that back. So there can be a little bit of like AP inducing, like just a very tiny slight bit.
Yeah, it
just
can-
enough to think about.
It can become a little tactical, right?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
you're trying to score points for you. You don't want to feed into the points that your opponents are potentially scoring.
Yeah, so like
So-
the example that you had happened in our most recent game where Monique set it up where she had a scoring criteria at the very bottom, and the scoring said for every meeple that is actually on a card above, you'll score, I think it was 2 points for her?
Something
or
like
something
that.
like
Yeah,
a lot.
2
It was
points.
pretty lucrative.
Yeah.
And she was making sure that she was constantly orthogonally going up. But then there was something there. She put that in a spot that she knew I was going to want to continue to
Yes.
feed into that. And I was like, well, I have to get my points too. So we kind of like,
Give me points.
she's like, well, if you want to score your points, then you're going to have to definitely feed into mine. So
Yes,
very clever play
Yes.
with just the small decisions that you have to make.
Yeah.
Can be quite meaningful though.
It's a very clever design. It's so simple. You're literally placing a card, maybe placing one of your hiker meeples because you only have a certain number of them, but you know you're definitely putting out a certain number of cards. So you also know in your mind, like every second or every,
Especially in
there-
a 2-player game.
there are only like 3 cards or something that I don't know what the math is, but you're
Well,
basically mathing out how
yeah.
many I can stand to not place a meeple on.
There's going to be, in a 2-player game, there's 25 cards. One the game starts with. So you know you're going to take 12 turns.
Yes.
But you have 8 meeples.
Right.
So that means 4 cards that you play.
Yeah.
You're not gonna put a meeple out.
Yes. And you want to make sure you put out
wanna-
all of your meeples.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to do that.
At the end of your turn, all you do is drop a new card, so you always have 6, and the game ends as soon as the last card in that 5x5 grid is placed.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, so if you have 2 meeples left and you're taking the last turn, you made a mistake because
Yes.
you're not putting out one. So clever little game. Played really well at 2. I think it plays up to 4.
Yeah.
And so we only played this one at 2.
Yes, it is more open, at 2. I imagine at 4, you'll have fewer meeples, but you'll also have less control over where certain things go. But I imagine maybe you'll see more openings. Like, again, we've only played it at 2. So we were definitely just going back and forth, trying to seek out opportunities and block each other out, right? So
Yeah, I'm actually very interested to see what the 3-player game is like. I feel like 4 would be kind of like you're waiting so long for your turn that you can't really set up there's going to be too much AP, like where you're like, well, for every water, okay, I don't have that much control. I feel like at 3, it's like you're just waiting enough time for it to get back to you to influence the overall board.
yeah, that'd be interesting.
So I'm curious to see how it plays at that 3-player.
But I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect, based off of just the back and seeing that you're just making sort of a grid or a tableau of cards. But it was very thinky for such a small, quick game.
Yeah. So good for families, short, quick, just like Odin. That is Alpina. Okay, the next game we are going to talk about is a 2-player only game, a card game designed by Tom Lemon, and it is called Chu Han. Now, if you know this designer, he did Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy, and The City, I think is another one that we covered.
The city is like a smaller card game.
Smaller card. We covered it on the channel.
Did we do a playthrough of that?
We did, yeah. That's why I shouted it out. So this one is a 2-player card game, and it's a shedding game. You want to get rid of your cards, similar to like Odin, but doesn't play at all like that.
No. So this is a game published by Matago, by the way, and the game comes with a deck of cards, and they're numbered 0 through 9. But it does this kind of thing where there are 9 1s, 8 2s, and you kind of decreases.
So they go in the opposite direction.
Yes,
right,
and there's only 1 9 in the game, and there's also only 1 0. But the 3s specifically and the 6s have special abilities. Now, at the start of the game, each player will have 15 cards in our hand. And like Naveen was mentioning, this is a hand shedding game. We're trying to get rid of our entire hand first. And so the way that the game works is if you are the first player in the round, you're technically leading. And you can start by playing a power that's called a lead power. So some of the powers on the cards will be specifically lead powers that you can only play if you're leading the trick. Then, before you play a card from your hand, and this is for any player, you can always take one of these tokens that are called writ tokens that allow you to draw 2 cards from the deck that is still on the table.
Again, keep in mind, this is a card shedding game, so
Yes.
your goal is to try to get rid of your entire hand.
Right, but maybe you might want to do that if you're looking for certain values. You just want to be able to increase the values of your hand. Then you have to play a hand of cards, and in this game, you can only play cards of the same value.
Correct.
So if I were to lead and play 4 1s, so then it would go to Naveen to respond, who must then play a hand of cards that are higher value, but the same size hand.
Yeah, so if you played like 4 1s,
Yeah.
then I could play 4 2s, 4 3s,
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Yeah, you couldn't play 4 9s, though, because you also have to keep in mind that
The tiering.
exactly.
There's only 1 9, so I couldn't play 4 8s because there's only 2 8s in the game.
Yes, and that is something big that you have to consider, the card counting aspect, keeping in mind what are the possibilities that he could even play. Now, there are other tricks to the game, such as those 3s and 6s, because some of them do have reactionary powers. Some of them have powers that will allow you to break the rule where you don't have to play cards of the same value. You can just play all cards of different values, but they'll take on the value of the lowest valued card. And that's important because 2s are also special, because if you are ever able to play a hand of at least 6 2s, then you'll score 1 point per card in that hand, which means if you play a hand of 6 2s, you're going to score 6 points immediately. Or if you're able to play a hand of 7 2s, that's 7 points immediately. So if you're able to couple that with that power, that lets you play all different valued cards, then you can score a lot of points that way.
Yeah, and by the way, there is no suits in this game. It's all just numerical values.
Yes.
So that's why you only have to focus on the actual numbers and the quantity of those numbers that you're playing. You are playing up to, I believe, 31 points.
Yes.
The first person to actually hit 31 is the winner of the game, and so it's going to play over several different rounds.
The way that you score points is whoever is the first player to shed their hand completely, they'll score 1 point per card that's left in their opponent's hand, up to a maximum of 5, plus 1 point for each writ token that the opponent took.
So writ token, again, is on your turn right before you play a card. You can take this writ token, put it in front of you, and you get to draw 2 cards from the draw pile.
Right. So you're kind of taking your chances with that because you're also potentially giving your opponent points if they happen to shed their hand completely.
Yeah, because you could have like a single 2, and you're like, I can never get this thing played unless I'm the lead player. So how am I going to get rid of this? Well, maybe I could draw a couple 2s, and then I can play 2 2s or 3 2s when the time is right.
But like I was mentioning, there are powers in the game that help you do things in unconventional ways. So as an example, the 0, by the way, is considered to be a wild. You can pair it with any card, and it just increases the size of that hand by 1. So if you were to put it with 2 4s, it's now a hand of 3 4s, but you can't play it on its own. There's also a 6 that has a power that lets it beat the single 9. So if somebody played a 9, then you can literally play that single 6 and it would beat that. Some powers allow you to pass, giving the opponent a certain amount of points, but allowing you to take the lead.
Yeah, so like say Monique played 4 4s, and I have nothing to beat that, but I have that one card that says I can play this single card, take the onus off me. I pass, and now Monique has to beat her own hand.
Yes,
So
that's a different power.
one. Yeah, like
Different
that.
power.
So there's little things like that kind of throw a wrench in this. So it's not just playing just
Yes.
like these like massive cards.
Right. But that's essentially the heart of the game. It's simple in the sense that you really are just playing the same valued cards and the same size hand, but you're trying to find other ways to win the hand by finding those powers and sort of being sneaky in the way that you can shed your hand quicker, I suppose. In addition, there's also a campaign. There's a historical backdrop to the game that I think is a bit lost on us.
It's definitely in the rule book. So
Yes.
if you are interested in the there's actually a historical guide.
Yeah.
There's a separate rule book
Yes.
that kind of talks about the history of the Chus and the Hans and kind of historical backdrop of China. So if you are interested in that, or if you are a history buff, then there is definitely that resource in the box for you.
Yes, and there are different campaign situations or campaign modes, I guess, in that historical pamphlet. So, and I think it has, thematic implications.
Yeah.
We did not try those,
didn't.
I will say, but the game also comes with a deck of event cards that you can play with, and we did play with those. So basically, each hand, you draw a new event card, and sometimes it changes the way you score. Sometimes it changed. There was one that we played with that you had to remove one of the writ tokens because there are only 6 of them, I believe, max. And you remove one of them. Instead, you put 2 cards face up from the deck.
Create a market.
And instead of taking a writ token to draw cards, you can swap one of the cards from your hand with one of those 2 face up cards. So there are a lot of different things. Or sometimes the events say, calm, no effect.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
there's essentially no event that round. But that's essentially it. Like Naveen was mentioning, you play until somebody scores 31 points. So what are your thoughts, Naveen?
What are my thoughts?
Yes.
Me first.
first.
I will just lay it out there. I do not like this game.
Oh, okay.
The decision making, the way you just get 15 cards, if you can get a nice hand where you don't have to tap into the writ well and draw more cards. Like if I start the game with like 5 ones and I'm the lead player, well, I can just get rid of 1/3 of my hand right there, and then I don't have to deal with the ones anymore at that point. As long as I don't just draw a single one, then I'm kind of in trouble right there. If you have a lot of the 3s, then you are going to be having more of the say on the powers. So I just the card distribution is just not dynamic enough, in my opinion. I just feel that like, okay, I got 4 of the 4s. That's great. This is a great time whenever we're going to play the 4 cards at once. I'll just unload this right now. And I just never felt like I was being cunning or like really outwitting you, even with all those powers. Like I would use those powers and I just was like, but I just have that power. It was just given to me at the beginning of the game. I didn't buy it from a market because I had to manage my money. I didn't have to do any of that.
You checked your privilege.
I just had privilege. Like I just got that card that said this one beats your 9. And that's it. And there's a 1 card that's in the game. So for me personally, I just didn't really see it in that way, and I actually did well. And I was actually
Naveen was doing well.
I was doing well in winning the games, and it's
especially the first game.
Yeah,
the first game I didn't really catch on to the card counting aspect. Really have to keep
that is something that
in mind.
My brain always does is card count. I anytime I play games and I'm fully aware of like the count of a card. That's just kind of how my brain works.
I kept taking writs, and I was like, wait, of course I'm not going to get more because there's no more. There are no more of this
There's
value.
no more 5s because Naveen just played 4 of the 5s.
Yeah. I don't card count, but I definitely think that I enjoyed it more. I still am not completely sold on the game. I do see what it's getting at. Like it really just wants you. The basis of the game is very simple. And when I was reading the rules, which were a bit difficult to understand, by the way, when I was reading the rules, I thought you're just playing the same valued cards. It didn't really seem like there was much more going for it. But then when you mix in the powers and the timing as to when you use the powers, then I do sort of see that tension of like you don't want to give away too much, that kind of thing, because your opponent can just come around, and if they happen to have the card that you don't have,
there's some
then
cards
they can
that
play
that like have powers that like are cancel the power of your opponent.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I have that card, so like I'm just gonna use it on you.
Yeah.
And now there's nothing you can do
But
about
maybe
it.
I know you have that card.
Okay.
So it's a 2-player only game, but there is a third deck that's like 16 cards deep.
It's like
so
a third,
unless
a third,
you're
a third. Yeah.
doing the writs a lot, then it's not like you're gonna really see all of those cards.
But by doing writs and grabbing more cards, if I end up shedding my hand, I'm gonna score more points because you've taken on more writs and you probably have more cards in your hand at the end. So I don't know. We played it several times, and I just
not sold.
I'm not sold on it.
I
Like,
definitely
I don't
wanted
get
to
it.
keep playing. Like
Yeah.
I was like, can we please just continue playing this game? I really want to see. I really want to get a feel for it.
We played
more.
it several times.
We
yeah.
did, yeah. Because
Still don't get it.
with games like this, where there is some sort of like backdoor strategy, you want to play it more and more, just so you can sort of feel what it's getting at.
I definitely I felt like the most recent game that we had. It was very close at the end.
Yeah, it was.
Where Monique had a card that said from now on all points are scored double.
Yes.
From there's a card that basically unlocks that, and so we were going back and forth, and it was kind of interesting there, but then it got to a point where I could like auto shed my hand.
Yeah,
there was nothing you could
can
do about
definitely
it, and it
happen
was
sometimes.
you just couldn't undo it, and then it just got to the end. I got to the end, and I was like, that was cool leading up to it, but at a certain point, that was just it.
Yeah. So the events do make it more interesting. I do think that, pulling an event that sort of changes the way the game plays, make it a little bit more interesting, but I think it might just not be for us.
Yeah.
I definitely thought it was more interesting than Naveen did.
Yeah.
Like, this one's really not for you.
I think people like this game.
Yeah.
Also, one cool thing that I will say is if you are a fan of it, there are very nice components in here, so you can play with like a nice layout. Or they also include a travel tuck box,
Yes.
which you can actually take, and you have the full game in just that tuck box. So
Yes.
you can
basically travel with it.
Yeah, you have a travel version of it in here with the main version. So
Yes, that is
if this
cool.
is something that you really like and you want to play a 2-player game, this could be right up your alley.
Well, there you go. That is Chu
Mm-hmm.
Han. Please let us know what you think about it if you've played it before. But there you go.
Let me know. Convince me. Tell me what I'm missing.
You don't have to convince him.
No,
Everybody has
if
the
you
right
have
to their
played this
own.
game, I do want to know what it is, because Monique was like holding on to something there, and
Yeah.
I want to know what that is.
There's a part of me that likes it.
There's
for
a
sure.
part of you that
Yeah.
likes it, yeah, and I'm curious what that is. Yeah.
All right, next up we have a lighter game. This is a game called Seaside,
Seaside.
and it comes in this bag so that you can bring it with you to the beach, I'm
beach.
assuming. This is a game published by Randolph, and it's designed by Brian Burgoyne. And in this game, the game comes with 70 of these tokens, and you remove a certain number of them depending on player count, because the game can play, I believe, up to 5 players, and it really takes about like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
So it's a very
quick.
fast sort of push your luck set collection game. And over the course of these 70 tokens, there are actually, I believe, 7 different tokens, and each token is double-sided.
Mm-hmm.
So one side will show a different type, and the opposite side will show a different type. And you won't know, you won't be able to guess what's on the opposite side.
Yeah, you just draw one from the bag, and then you make a choice between the two
Yes.
sides.
That's right. On your turn, all you do is you draw a token from the bag, you decide which side of the token to resolve, and then you do the thing. And tokens are either going to be placed in the ocean in front of you or in the seaside, which is in your play area, depending on the type of token that you resolve. So 3 of these tokens are things that feature creatures like crabs.
Shell,
Oh, shells.
and isopods.
And isopods.
Yeah.
Those 3 tokens, when you resolve them, get placed into the ocean because other tokens will allow you to collect them from the ocean. As an example, the sandpiper, which is a type of bird, when you draw one of those, you get to collect as many
Isopods, yeah.
from the ocean as you'd like, and you actually stack them. But the thing is, if ever you have a stack that is smaller than the rest of the stacks that are in your seaside, you have to discard the smaller stacks.
Yeah, so these are stacks of that bird on top of the bug
Several
isopods.
isopods,
Yeah, so
yes.
it's only stacks relative to the other bird stacks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. So if you had 3 size 2s and then you were to create a size 3, then you have to discard all of your size 2s. And you wouldn't
Yes.
want to make that size 3
No.
because the object of the game is for you to essentially have the most amount of tokens at the end of the game.
You're trying to find a way to hoard everything.
Yes.
Because you basically get
On your
1 point.
seaside.
Yeah, on your seaside. Because for every token you have, you get 1 point at the end of the game.
Yes, and it's actually not points. At the very end of the game,
Oh.
you're supposed to stack up all your tokens, and whoever has the tallest stack
Yeah,
wins.
you like build it like a sandcastle.
You do.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the sand, there are other types of tokens, such as the beach, which allow you to take shells.
Yep. So
And-
just like how there's those isopods, the beach token, for every beach token you already have present, you get to grab a shell from the dead center.
Yes.
So if I have 3 beaches and there's 4 shells in the middle, I
Yes.
can take 3 of those shells.
You must
and
take
keep 'em.
3.
Yeah.
It's not up to. The other ones, you can decide how many.
You'd
to
always take them. Yeah.
You'd always take them. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
good points.
There are also waves, which require you to flip over one of the beaches that are on your seaside. You can look at all the beaches to see, what the opposite sides are, but you must flip one of them over and resolve that new side.
Yeah, so if you flip it over and this beach used to be a shell or was a shell on the other side, now you flip it over, it becomes a shell. Now it has to go into the dead center. So now you've technically lost a point until you get it back.
So you wouldn't choose that one
You wouldn't
unless
choose
it's your
it.
only choice.
Yeah.
And finally, there are also rocks, and rocks operate in pairs. So the first rock that you take does nothing, but the second rock that you take now allows you to take all of the
Crabs?
the crabs that are in the ocean. And the third one that you take does nothing, but the fourth one that you take allows you to take the crabs again.
So you always want to get your
So-
rocks in pairs,
Yes.
so that you can. But you want to time it so that there is actual crabs in the dead center,
Right.
Because there's no crabs in there. All you've done is just put together 2 rocks.
Yes, and I should also mention those 3 types, the isopods, crabs, and shells that you're putting in the ocean. Whenever you do that, you get to take another turn. So it's not a
Yes.
complete loss of a turn. You toss it into the ocean, and then you draw a new token from the bag.
Yeah, because if you made the decision to just toss it in a higher player count, it's not coming back to you.
Yeah,
So
it's like you're wasting a
So
turn.
there's a little symbol that basically has that universal gamer, like take another turn on
Mm-hmm.
it. So that's the reason why you would throw something out there so that you can potentially catch it on
you
your
can
very
actually
next
pick it
turn. Mm-hmm.
up. Yeah. So that's essentially it. It's
Yeah.
very simple. The game ends as soon as you've drawn and resolved the last token from the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And the player who has the most number of waves in their seaside gets to collect the rest of the tokens from the center of the ocean.
Yes.
And in the case of a tie, then you divvy them out evenly. But that is essentially the game.
Yeah, you just want to stack them up, and then whoever has the most tokens overall is the winner. Very, very light game.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Whoever has the tallest stack. So
Yeah,
make
you're
sure
supposed
you
to
get that
technically stack
ruler.
it and put it all together and see who's the best. Yeah.
Yes. All the tokens are the same size.
They
So
are.
it really is whoever has the most.
Yeah, light game, simple family game, very easy to teach. It's way more complicated just from us verbally
hearing
saying it.
this explanation.
Versus you could literally just teach it like this one does this one does this.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to go? But yeah, it's simple. I liked it. I think it was a fine game. Nothing like to scream about or shout on the top of the mountains, but I did enjoy my place.
Yeah, it is push your luck. It's just push your luck. It's very, very quick. It's like Naveen said, this is a very light family weight game, but it's very cute. The components are cute. The tiles are really nice. I enjoyed it for what it is. I think it does what it does very well. And I do think that it would probably play better at higher player counts. I don't think it's a great 2-player game.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of those things where you travel with it and then you kind of play something nice and light and casual. And in that moment, you have a cute little fun time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, not much more to say about it besides that.
Yeah, that's essentially it, honestly.
Yeah, one for the family and one that we're probably not going to pull out just the 2 of us though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, not the best 2-player game, but especially if you have like 5 players and you just want to play something really quick, this is perfect.
Yep.
So anyway,
you go.
that is Seaside.
Okay, the final game that we want to talk about today was the one that we wanted to talk about in our last episode of Let's Talk Board Games, but we just wanted to play it a few more times, and so we have done that. This is Pirates of Maracaibo.
Yes.
Designed by Alexander Pfister. We did an entire Pfister series.
We did.
So if you are interested in some of the other games that we have played, we have a whole playlist on this channel, which you can check out. This is published by Capstone Games, and it is a 1 to 4 player game. And it says it takes about 25 minutes per player. Which is a lot lighter than Maracaibo,
Yes.
which is the game that this is kind of titled after.
Right. If you are not familiar with Alexander Pfister as a designer, he is known for heavier games. And
Medium heavy. Yeah.
pretty heavy. Like
Yeah.
Maracaibo, which is the game that this is sort of a spin-off of, is fairly heavy.
Oh, yeah.
These are long games. He's also designed Great Western Trail, Blackout Hong Kong.
Mombasa/Sky Mines,
Yes.
Isle of Skye, which
Yes.
is one of our favorites.
That's right. There are some lighter titles in his line, I guess, like Isle of Skye. There's also Cloud Age, which
yeah.
was a very lighter strategic title. And now there's Pirates of Maracaibo,
Yep.
which, like we were mentioning, is a sort of standalone spin-off of the original game.
It's a
called
relative
Maracaibo.
of the original game, I would
Yes.
say. Yeah.
So in Maracaibo, which we actually have a playthrough of, you are going around Maracaibo, and you're visiting different locations and you're trying to collect cards. It's a very heavy, long game. In this game, the board is completely made of cards. There's actually no board. Now, I do want to mention that the pictures that we showcase in our episode are going to show a playmat that does not come with the game. We just happen to have the playmat. But, if you don't have that, then you would just arrange the cards in different columns, exactly the way that they're arranged on that mat. And so there is no board that comes with the game. But basically, what you're doing is the game is played over the course of 3 rounds, and each round, you're going to, on your turn, sail your ship up to 1 to 3 spaces. And in this game, spaces are adjacent cards. So they can be adjacent horizontally or vertically. But the main rule is the last card that you land on has to be at least 1 column closer to the right.
Yeah.
Because the very, very rightmost space is Maracaibo.
So you can go like in the same column, you can go up, and then 1 step towards Maracaibo.
Yes, but you always have to end up just 1 column closer to Maracaibo than you started your turn. And there are 3 different types of cards in the game. There are locations, there are residences, and there are improvements. And depending on which card you land on, then you resolve the card. Now, the locations and the residences, you're going to lay out these cards, and those are the 2 types of cards that will not change the entire game.
Thematically, they are where they are. They're like an island. It's physically stuck there.
Right. Location cards provide you with the main types of actions that you'll be utilizing throughout the game. Residences are end game scoring criteria. So there are about 4 of them maybe that are laid out throughout the entire game, and you'll see them at the very beginning, so you kind of know what to gun for.
The game comes with a bunch, but at the beginning, when you're doing that setup of the lattice, you'll only play with about 4 of them.
Yes, and then the improvement cards will either give you immediate benefits or ongoing sort of engine building abilities that you can use when taking actions. Now, the main types of actions that you'll see on these location cards are going to be stuff like raiding, which will allow you to roll these 3 raiding dice and gain one of the 3 types of treasure in the game.
Yeah, so like there's the white die goes with pearls, the green is like with emeralds, and then there's gold for gold.
Yes, and whenever you take these treasures, you're going to place them on your player board, which is divided by the 3 different types of treasures, and there's also a line because you must place it above the line because it's considered to be unburied.
Yeah.
There is another mechanic in the game that will allow you to bury treasure, because buried and unburied treasure are different things in this game. You'll score more points if they are buried versus unburied.
You want to get them buried.
Yes, but it's the same thing though at the end of the game. These treasures are going to be a sort of multiplier depending on the value that the treasures hold at the very end. So the game has 3 different islands that feature one of these types of treasure, and you can't actually land on the islands. You have to sort of sail around them. But basically, there are also opportunities throughout the game for you to add more treasure to those islands. And at the very end of the game, these islands will determine the value of each treasure that you have.
Yeah, it's actually it's not a supply and demand thing. It's actually like...
It is kind of.
Well, it's the inverse, right? So typically, like when there is a lot of supply, then the value goes down. But this one, the more supply there is on the island, the more valuable it is as a multiplier. Versus supply and demand, it would be the less supply there is, the more demand there is, and so the value would increase. So it kind of goes the opposite way.
Why is because whenever you raid and take treasure, you're taking from these islands. So the more that the people have, the less valuable the treasure is. Like the more the players take from these islands, the less valuable the treasure is because so many people have that type of treasure.
Okay.
So that
I can
is
see it
the
that
way
Yeah.
it values the treasure. But
Right,
like I was
okay.
mentioning, there are ways that you can add more treasure to these islands.
Yeah, because when you bury it, you can actually cover a spot, and it basically allows you to take one from the supply and put it onto the island. So depending on how many cubes are on the island, it'll have a specific number of points.
Yes.
And that is going to be your multiplier for how many of that particular type of treasure you have. And so that's just one of many ways that you can score in this game.
Yes.
This game is a point salad. You
Yes,
will
there
score...
are many different ways to score points.
Yeah.
And so that is just rating. You know, rating, when you roll the dice, you'll have a certain amount of rating points, you know, without getting into the specifics of the rules. But one of the main reasons why you raid is to gain those treasures. In addition to burying treasure and gaining them, you'll also be able to explore. take the exploration action, which allows you to go around this map. That is something that
I
is
love
in
Maracaibo.
Maracaibo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of the mechanics in Maracaibo are sort of condensed into very simplified versions and combined into this game. And so that exploration piece is part of it. But going around the map is actually quite lucrative because there are like 4 rivers along the map. And at the end of the game, you'll score 4 points for each river that you were able to cross. In addition to the fact that whenever you move around the map, the last place that you land on, you gain the benefit of that spot. And some of them are great, especially when you need them the most, I guess.
I mean, some could be like a double shovel, which is like berry, and that could be really big for you.
Or some can be just gain a treasure or gain a lot of money. Like that's another way that you can gain money. So there are a lot of different benefits, but that is another sort of main thing you'll be doing. You'll also start the game with a quest card, which is basically your own private endgame scoring, and you'll have opportunities throughout the game to gain more of these cards. And one of them is on one of the locations. But those are the sort of the 3 main things that you'll be doing when visiting those locations. In addition, whenever you visit a location, before taking its main action, you can also upgrade your ship. And so this is actually a part of the game that I thought was kind of cool. Each player has their own ship, and it's broken up into, I believe, 3 segments.
And you have this menu of different upgrades that you can take.
Yes, and whenever you upgrade, you have to start from the leftmost section first. As soon as you are able to meet the criteria for crossing over into the next threshold, then you can start upgrading in that section. And these are going to be a wide variety of benefits, like just gaining you a bunch of money, or some of them give you ongoing benefits, like now you gain a $1 discount every time you purchase a card, or an additional rating point whenever you go rating. There is a benefit that allows you to purchase the front of the ship, which is it called the mast?
Yes.
I don't remember what it's called.
Yes.
But the game comes with several of these tokens that feature different types of that mast. I'm going to call it a mast.
It becomes your own personal asymmetry.
Yes.
When you buy one.
But they're also really cute because there's like a mermaid, or the one has like a unicorn, and there's like a bunch of different ones. I thought that was a really funny thing. And when you purchase the upgrade, it kind of slots into your ship like a puzzle piece. You also have the ability to put out your own black market tiles, which you can place out onto a location that doesn't already have one. And whenever you visit that location, it'll either give you points if you are able to meet its criteria, or it'll let you bury treasure depending on which black market tile you placed out. And finally, the last type of cards are the residences. And like we're mentioning, there are only a few of these that are laid out on the board, but basically they give you end game scoring criteria that are really strong because they're multipliers.
Definitely something that when you go into your game, if you're like, okay, there's a lot going on, take a look at the residence cards, because you're probably going to try to do at least 2 of them.
And start working on them.
And start working on them and be like, okay, like if it comes down to choice A and choice B, well, choice B goes along with the residence card that I think I can score.
Right.
So it's going to kind of drive your path along with those quest cards that you have. Going back to the quest cards, by the way, there's 2 ways to score them. There's the lesser top and then the more lucrative bottom way. So that is also another kind of like decision point at the very beginning of the game. You're like, okay, this wants me to get a bunch of people. I'm going to find improvement cards that have the people symbol on it. And it at least just gets you kind of moving in a direction.
Yes. So all of these things, they just help you, give you a direction. So it's not just this like total overload of options. And, you have a goal from the very beginning of the game. And with the residences, they cost a lot of money. You have to pay a certain amount of money to put one of your tokens on there. But now it's a multiplier at the end of the game. So one of them might score you, I think it was like 6 points for every river that you cross. And that's in addition to the 4 points that you are already scoring because of the base scoring rules.
So if you know you're going for that, you're like, noted, I'm going to walk a ton on that track because I'm going to get 10 times 4, 40 points, in this game. So because our scores are pretty high in this one.
Yeah, scores are pretty high. And unlike the improvement cards, the residences, like we're mentioning, they do not change. The improvement cards, whenever you buy them, they actually come off the table and then you replace them with a new card from the deck. So those are constantly changing, but locations and residences stay the same. And that's essentially it. As soon as a player has reached the very rightmost port, I believe, then everybody has like one more turn, and then that player will move into Maracaibo, and that ends a round. And, there's a little bit more to it than that because there are a lot of different benefits that you'll see on various parts of the board as well as the ship. But those are the main concepts of the game. As soon as the end of the 3rd round hits, then everybody goes into final scoring, and then you score for everything that you've amassed throughout the game.
Final scoring is a little bit tedious. I will say there's
break
quite
out your sweat handkerchief.
There's quite a bit going on, especially because you're going to score during the middle of the during the game, but
Yes.
at final scoring, you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm done. When like you're finished and you're like, wow, that was a lot of points that
Because
came in.
everything scores you points. Like everything that you do, I gained a treasure. That's going to score you something at the end of the game. So there's a lot of there's a lot of points to be had. And even though it may have sounded complicated, it's actually not. And that's what I appreciate about this game. I like the board of Maracaibo. I like the rondelle thing that Pfister does, with Great Western Trail. I really think that he does that well. So I think that the card layout is just okay, like moving from column to column. I do think that it simplifies the game a lot more, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, because it's all laid out for you. You
Yeah.
can see it all there. One element that we didn't touch upon is if you ever go onto a card where another player is, then you owe them $1.
Yes.
Or 1 coin.
1 coin.
And if there's multiple players there, then you owe everybody a coin.
And that's not horrible in a
not
two-player
horrible.
game.
No,
I imagine
yeah.
at 4 players, because the board state doesn't change, it's still the same number of cards. So I imagine at higher player counts, that would be a stronger point of contention. But like I said, this is basically a lot of the major mechanics that you see in Maracaibo condensed and simplified into a faster game, a game that's easier to set up, easier to digest and teach.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's just easier to synthesize because you're not there's a lot of tension in Maracaibo. There's a
yeah.
lot to consider. It's really
yeah.
heavy. And that's why I love Maracaibo. You don't have a lot of that in this. This one's a lot more free flowing.
This
right?
one is like, we'll kind of get in each other's way, especially with the timing element of the game.
Yeah.
Because you can move 1 to 3. So if one player is like, I'm just going to go 1 card to next, so I can take a bunch of actions. Well, one person can go 3, 3, 3 and get as close to Maracaibo as possible. And that kind of speeds up your clock. Like, oh, I really want to go and roll some dice, and that's really far away. So now I got to bail on all this other stuff that I was planning on doing.
Yeah, and I will say that is a major aspect of Maracaibo that I liked a lot. The anxiety of oh my gosh, this player's gonna end it, and I have so much more I have to do.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that in this game. It definitely still has that aspect, but it's not as bad.
Not as
And
bad, no.
I honestly don't mean to keep comparing it to Maracaibo. Maracaibo is just one of the games that I really love, but I just can't help but see similarities. But
I mean, it's in the name.
It is in the name, but this
Yeah.
game stands on its own. It is meant to do something different. It's meant to do what it is doing exactly, and I really liked it for that.
I will say okay, last time about Maracaibo. Maracaibo is very tense. You're like, I hope they don't ruin the war track.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I worked so hard on that.
Yeah, the war track.
Here it's like, I'm gonna go and do this thing.
Yeah.
And, oh, you got that card that I wanted? That's okay. I'll
let's
go
get the
and
other
get that
card.
card over there, and I'll roll some dice, and I'll modify that dice,
Yeah.
and so it's more casual feeling.
Yeah, it's more casual.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely a lighter in terms of like that brain heaviness that
Yeah.
you feel. You don't after Maracaibo, you're like sitting back and you're like, whew.
I need to
Guys.
disassociate for an hour.
Yeah. This one
it's
was
really
like,
intense.
oh, that was pleasant.
Yes.
That was nice.
And I think that's the point.
Yeah.
It is a more pleasant experience. There's not a whole lot of pain, I guess. The upgrades are free. You're getting something every time you take a turn. But I honestly think that's a good thing because Maracaibo is so difficult to get into. That is not a game that we play often at all
I would love to
because
play
of
it
that.
again.
It's something that we
Yeah.
we would love to play.
I would love to play it
dream
again.
of playing
Yeah.
again, but we know how difficult it is to get into a game like that and to really commit the time.
Yeah.
Whereas this is so easy to just get out, get into it. You sort of have a lot of the feel. And for a lot of people who don't want to play a game like that or who are not heavy gamers, this is going to be really lovely for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Playmat is very good. So I will say, if you are a fan of this game, if you've played it and you like it, I do recommend getting the playmat. Normally, playmats for me is kind of I don't really care.
But
Where am I going to store it?
it's a board.
Yeah.
It becomes a board.
It becomes a board.
basically.
It helps. But the only thing is I wish it could fit in here somehow.
Yeah.
It unfortunately cannot
never
fit in
gonna
here.
happen.
So we have a playmat that's just it's going to have to be in the corner for a little bit until we figure it out. Moving up to 3 cards away, very, very simple concept. Everything is laid out for you. You can try to, plan your moves, especially at a 2-player game. If I see Monique has kind of gone to the north,
Yeah.
and I know I'm going to take a pretty south route and go around an island, I can kind of plan out and be like, the worst thing she can do is go 1, 2, 3, and then I can counter that and go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And so you're not really into each other's face.
Not too much tension or
I
conflict.
will say, surprisingly, for how many cards are out there, there's not too much AP in terms of which cards I'm going to take. The AP I get is which upgrade am I going to do?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, wait, do I need 3
do.
coins now?
That is
This is the one time to get 3
true.
coins?
Yeah.
Is 3 coins right now better than having a card discount forever?
Yeah,
like,
forever.
Oh my, like what?
Yeah, that is
and
so true. The
there's-
upgrades are
I have
tough
no
to-
idea why, but not in like it's not a negative for me. It's like, how the heck did that become such a hard decision for me?
Because all of the cards are good, and it's either you have the money or you don't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the upgrades, you want to make sure you time them right.
Yes.
But anyway, this game
Yeah.
is all about building. You know, you're just constantly creating this path that you're trying to maximize the entire time. You're just trying to acquire things that'll meet your quests, get more quests, acquire things that'll continue to meet those, and then secure the residences that give you the most amount of points. Like that is the game in a nutshell.
Yeah. For me, enjoyable at 2 players because of the time. 4 players, you're just waiting for that many more players to
Yeah,
take their
that's
turn.
just going to be, I mean,
And
it's
so
25 minutes per
20
player.
it
so-
it literally adds per player, and then every single AP decision is per player. So I think this is probably a 2-player only game for me, which is great because it's just the 2 of us right now. So
true.
so that works out. Yeah. So overall,
Overall, I enjoyed it. I definitely love Maracaibo more, but they are different, very different feel. different
Maracaibo's
games,
in
so-
our top.
Yeah, that's like I think that's like in our top 50, right?
It's definitely
That
in our
was,
top.
and it's
It
probably
had to
still
have been in
there.
there, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty difficult comparison, but for what it is, I think they did a great job.
Still enjoyable, yeah. So anyway, that is Pirates of Maracaibo. Well, there you have it. Those are some of the games that we've been playing recently. Now, we have been playing a ton of games lately, so we do have plans to do another Let's Talk board games probably in the next week or 2.
Yes, at the end of next week.
At the end of next week?
Because, like we were mentioning, we are trying to get through as many of the games released in 2024 that we
Yes.
have as possible. We're trying to do a better job at playing more games this year.
More. Yeah. So we are playing a lot of games right now. And so if you have played any of these 5 games, please let us know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about Chu Han. Please, if you have played it, please convince me. Like, tell me,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
what am I missing there?
Give the man some peace.
Give me some peace.
Ugh.
Yeah. And thank you so much to Bezier Games for helping sponsor this video. We really appreciate that. We do have those Maglev Metro playthroughs coming out in the future. Thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.